Hey, and welcome back to NJ Education YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to talk about how to submit a competitive application to Stanford University for undergraduate in 2020. Let's go! So, first and foremost, you need to remember that there are 5 components, 5 data points that the university is going to see about you. Number 1 is a completed Common App. Number 2 is your references from your school, and there are 3 references that need to be submitted. Number 3 is your main Common App essay and the Stanford supplemental essays, and I'm going to touch on that in a second. Number 4 is your standardized testing. And again, there are some changes for this year given COVID-19, so I'm going to talk about that in a bit more detail. And last but not least, your transcript. Okay, let's go each one of these one by one and show you exactly what you need to do to put a competitive application together. So, Common App, as many of you already know, is a portal through which applicants from overseas and within America used to apply to majority of universities in America. Stanford is one of them. On that form goes all the basic information: your name, date of birth, school, information about your parents, your interests, list of activities, hobbies, volunteering, service, work experience, all of that. So it's basically like your CV biography that you're presenting to a university. It's not a walk in the park, and it's not something that should be rushed. Something that needs to be completed very carefully, and something that you can start right now. So if you're looking to apply in the fall, in the autumn of 2020, you can go and start filling up Common Application, Common App right now. The website for that is commonapp.org. So that's number 1. Number 2 is your references. And at the very minimum, Stanford will require 3 references from your school. 1 is from your school counselor and 2 from your school teachers. Now, generally speaking, it is up to you.
Now it is up to you.
What teachers you pick. Schools in America or schools overseas that are familiar with sending university students to American universities will tell you exactly who are the teachers in your school to do this. However, if you're applying from a school that doesn't really know what it's doing, and by the way, majority of the schools don't really have any idea.
No idea.
You need to pick the teachers and you need to drive this process, because they're not going to be doing it for you. So just remember that you need to approach your teachers. They're all busy people. They all have a ton of other stuff to do, so be sure to approach them nice and early. The best idea, if they already know, this summer that you're applying, and that they write it in September, October, well before the deadline. So, which brings me to point number 3. One of the most important ones, and really a data point that allows you to express your identity, something that Stanford will look at very closely, is your application essays. Now, there is a ton of essays that Stanford requires. Stanford is probably one of the universities in America that requires one of the most essays of any students. So there are 2 types. There is the main Common App core essay, which is up to 650 words, and that essay is part of the Common App application, and it goes to every single university you apply to. So you cannot complete a Common App without that main essay. Now, that essay is the first thing they read. It is very, very important. However, Stanford has on top half a dozen extra essays that they came up with, and they're just specific to Stanford. And they're quite peculiar, so it's not something, it wouldn't be very easy for you to, let's say, apply to Harvard or Princeton and then recycle those supplemental essays for Stanford, because Stanford's essays are reasonably unique. Just to give you examples from this past application cycle, some of the questions are: what is the most important challenge that society faces today? Or how did you spend your last 2 summers? Or they talk about what historical event would you like to have witnessed and why? Or 5 words that describe you. And one of my students put 5 words is not enough.
Not enough.
But again, it's something you really have to think about quite carefully. Or an essay on, if you had 1 extra hour in the day, how would you spend it? I mean, what would you do? Would you read? Would you study? Would you work? Would you just have a nap?
Great nap.
And sleep for an extra hour in the day? Again, it's up to you. Or another one, describe something that is meaningful to you and why it is meaningful to you. So these are fairly deep philosophical questions. And by the way, for some of them, the word limit is only 50 words. So you have to be very concise, very precise, no water, no jargon, just kind of go straight into it and answer the question directly. So that is very important, and that is what really makes or breaks your application. The fourth part of what Stanford's going to see is standardized testing. There is lots of stuff that's been written about standardized testing. The usual tests that you have to do are the SAT or ACT, as well as a SAT subject test. However, this year, due to COVID, Stanford has announced that this application cycle will be test optional.
What? That's what they said.
What it means, and at least what they're saying, is they will consider applicants without the standardized testing, either the SAT, ACT, or the SAT subject test, and that those applicants applying without it will not be penalized. Now, how true that is, it is difficult to say. You have to remember that the application, the competitiveness of Stanford application, in one of the last cycles, there were 48,000 applicants for just over 2,000 places. I mean, just think about those numbers. This is crazy. So the acceptance rate is about 4.5%. I believe less than 4.5%. So fewer than 1 in 20. Fewer than 1 in 20 get in. What normally happens year on year is that applicants who apply have excellent essays, have very well written essays, and they have excellent SAT or subject tests or ACT scores. So yes, you can bank and apply without it, and probably there will be a few people who do get in without the test scores, but I will be surprised, having been doing this for 6 years, if they genuinely admit a lot of applicants without standardized testing. Now, the last bit of the application is your transcript, and this is something supplied by the school. There's not much that you can do about it because, unless you can bribe your school.
In a word, bribery.
And change your transcript, which you shouldn't do, then there is no way for you to change it. However, what is in your power is remember that Stanford will request something known as a mid-year report. This report is submitted by your school directly to Stanford after you have applied. So the latest you can apply to Stanford is 1st of January 2021. And this mid-year report is about your grades from September up until January, from September 2020 to January 2021. And it's sent to them in late January, early Feb. So basically they want to see whether you've taken your foot off the pedal.
I need to keep my foot on the gas pedal.
After you have applied. And when I mentioned when you should apply to Stanford, so there are two deadlines. There is the early decision by 1st of November of each application year, and then there is the regular decision 1st of January 2021, and we're doing a separate video on the difference between early decision or regular decision on our YouTube channel later this year, so stay tuned, or feel free to message me on Instagram if you want to find out more about it.
One more thing.
Now, having said all this, let's say you go through the effort and you fill in the Common App, your teachers write you amazing references, you spend a year thinking about your essays, and then you do the tests and have an excellent SAT score and fantastic SAT subject tests, and you have a brilliant transcript. But that means there are still another 20 people just like you who have excellent, all of those, who are high achievers, who are brilliant students, and they're also competing with you for the place at Stanford. So how do you stand out? What's going to make your application different to everybody else's? Well, me and my colleagues have been helping students from all over the world for the last 6 years to get into universities like Stanford, Harvard, Princeton. And the one thing that can massively boost your application is having a well-rounded CV where you can demonstrate that you have unique interests and you can pursue your passion and really make a difference in whatever field it is. Now, this does not mean that everybody has to be an Olympic level swimmer, but somebody, as an applicant, you need to have something. This can be volunteering, this can be work experience, this can be academic publications, community service, whatever it may be. But it cannot be just passive participation. You need to demonstrate leadership, you need to demonstrate initiative, and you need to demonstrate that you're ready to push yourself out of the comfort zone and be counted. That's not easy, and that's why the acceptance rate is so low. So I hope this video was very useful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to put your questions in the comment sections, or drop us a message on Instagram. I check it regularly. We'll be very happy to answer it. And good luck in your application. Take care.